Hi mga kababayan, this is your Tita Abroad and today we will talk about money. I'm gonna tell you how much I spend and save living in New Zealand's capital city, Wellington. So last 2017, I moved to New Zealand from the Philippines wanting a better future, and part of that better future meant having more money and earning more money. And so after 6 years of living here, I could say that yes, I am earning more money and I am saving more money, but at the same time, I'm also spending way more money than I would want. New Zealand is not a cheap country to live in because it's so far away from the rest of the world. A lot of the expenses here are pretty expensive because they would have to be imported here or there's just not a lot of competition in the market, etc. Wellington is the capital city of New Zealand and it is the second most expensive city in the country, the top being Auckland. I was originally living in Auckland before moving here to Wellington, and I can say that the prices are pretty much even. There are even some things here in Wellington, like apartments and rent, that are more expensive than they are in Auckland. That's just my opinion, but I think it's true. So I'm going to be breaking down my expenses in 5 parts. First would be my living expenses that I share alongside my partner and fiance, Frank. I also have my expenses, daily expenses, which I just spend on my own. I have got my fun expenses, entertainment, fun and games. I've got my sinking funds or the funds that I set aside each month for a specific purchase or a specific purpose. And then lastly, I will share with you how much I save each month. So note that I am going to be stating my expenses in New Zealand dollars, but I will also give the conversion of US dollars and Philippine pesos. So in US dollars, 1 New Zealand dollar is 0.62 cents, while in the Philippines, 1 New Zealand dollar is 34 pesos. Let's get right to it. With regard to joint expenses, my partner Frank and I share a couple of things. First of them being rent. We live in Wellington's central city, so we are just 10 minutes away from the city. And I actually go to my office by walking every day unless the weather's bad, and it takes me about 25 minutes to get to my office. Our space is pretty small. What you see right now, that's about 40% of the space that we live in. And monthly, we pay $1,880 for this small space. You might wonder, why are you spending so much for such a small space? It's because it's very close to the city. Again, it's actually just on the fringe of the city center. So a 10-minute walk gets us to the city. And also the best part about living in this place is that it is in front of the beach. We don't have the view of the beach here, but if we go outside of our door, the beach is right there. So we spend a lot of time just hanging out in the beach, having coffee there, sometimes even having our dinner there. This place it may not be the biggest space, but it's actually like really good. Yeah, just really good for our mental health. And we do need a lot of mental health assistance here because a lot of things are very expensive. So our groceries, we set aside 1,200 New Zealand dollars for our food. We divide this 1,200 into both our groceries and our eating out. Our split is most of the time 75% groceries and 25% eating out. So that's about $900 per month on groceries and $300 for eating out. We used to put in about $1,000 only for our groceries and our eating out. We have increased it to 1,200 just a few months ago because inflation is quite high. And a lot of the expenses here have just skyrocketed. A lot of fruits and veggies and meat have the prices have just gone up, and it blows my mind. We've got our internet, we've got the 1NZ ultra-fast HFC internet. I don't know what that means, but it's fast internet and it's 62.99 NZ a month. And then lastly, we have power. Frank and I set aside 140 NZ every month for power. We don't always spend 140. During the summer months, our bill goes down to about $50, while in winter, it goes up to about 220, 240. So whatever is left over from the summer, we just carry over to the winter. So those are all the expenses that Frank and I share, and it comes to a total of 3,282.99 New Zealand dollars or 1,641 New Zealand dollars each. In US dollars, that is $249.70 or 1,025 each. And in Philippine pesos, the total is 111,920 or 55,960 Philippine pesos each person. Let's move on to the next category, which is expenses that I spend on my own. I don't have a lot of living expenses because a lot of them I share with Frank, but then I have money set aside for my own food. I set aside 200 New Zealand dollars every month in case I want to eat out or I want to spend some groceries for myself. I've also got $20 set aside for transportation, which I normally use for the bus. I don't bus often since I don't really go out of the city that much and my office is very close to where I live. So $20 is usually good for me per month. I have also got my phone plan, which is 35 NZ a month. So that 35 NZ, I think, gives me like 50 minutes of calls, unlimited texts, and maybe 6 gigs of data each month. I think that's about the range. So $35 for that. So my own living expenses comes to a total of 255 NZ, which is about 158 US dollars or 8,670 Philippine pesos per month. Now the fun part, entertainment. I save quite a bit for entertainment because if I don't entertain myself, I am going to probably get money from my savings and just splurge. So I really have to have some money to entertain myself and make sure I don't break down. For the breakdown of my fun expenses, I've got my general fun money, which is $130 each month. The fun money doesn't really have a specific purpose. It could be if I decide to eat out by myself on a weekend or if I decide to impulsively shop something. At least I have money for that. I've also got my gym membership, which is $56 per month. It's really important for me to be working out because there's nothing much to do in Wellington. So because there's nothing to do, I have no choice but to exercise. I've also got a socializing budget of $60 per month. This usually goes to coffee. Every weekday, my colleagues and I go out for a coffee, and that's when we do our gossip, our chica, or sometimes on the weekends, I meet up with some of my few friends here in Wellington and we just have a drink or just hang out at someone's house. So $60 again takes me far. I've got my Spotify, which is $15 each month. I've got my iCloud subscription for 50 gigs, which is $5. And I've also got my subscription to Crunchyroll, which is the Netflix of anime because I like anime and I think the One Piece is real. So in my entertainment budget, I also have a category for sinking funds. Sinking funds is money that I set aside each month because I don't spend it per month, but like once every 3 months or once every 6 months, I will spend it on something big. So at least I have some money pulled in for that big spend. So I have a couple of sinking funds for my entertainment. First would be for my hair. I set aside $80 each month. I don't know why. I used to do balayage on my hair, but I think I'm gonna stop that now. So I don't really need $80. So I'm going to revisit this. I've also got my skincare, which is $60. That includes my skincare routine and also makeup and then lotion, moisturizers because I've got eczema. I usually buy my skincare once every 3 months. I've also got some money set aside for clothes. So that's $50 each month, which is not a lot. So I think I'm gonna revisit this and swap or move some of my hair budget to my clothes budget. I have also got a annual subscription to You Need a Budget, which is my budgeting app. It has been a really useful tool for me to really just get my head around my money. And it's pretty pricey, but I think it's worth it. I set aside $12 each month because the annual subscription is $160. And lastly, I also use Sweat, which is an exercise subscription. It's an app that I use all the time in the gym. I have been using this app for 4 years now, and it has really helped me start loving exercising. So yes, that is $120 each year. So I set aside $10 each month. So yeah, for my entertainment expenses, I am spending each month 458 New Zealand dollars or 284 US dollars, which is 15,572 Philippine pesos. Now moving on to the sinking funds. Again, sinking funds are money I set aside each month for a big spend that happens like once every 3 months or once every 6 months or once a year or something like that. I wouldn't categorize these sinking funds as fun, but they are more obligations that I set for myself. And I wouldn't feel like I'm doing this budgeting thing right if I don't have these sinking funds. Let's start with our doctor visits. I set aside $20 each month for my doctor visits. I usually go to my doctor like once every 4 months. I don't have any health concerns whatsoever, so usually this really covers me. I also set aside $100 for gifts for my family. Sometimes I randomly send my parents or my brothers some gifts, and this makes sure that I cover that expense. I also set aside $30 for my friends. This could be on their birthdays or Christmas rolls around and I want to give some of them gifts. Then I have this budget to lean onto. I've also got a budget for my nibblings, for my nephews and nieces. And please, to the mothers of my godchildren out there, don't be mad. But I only set aside $10 right now per month for my nephews and nieces. I'm really sorry because, yeah. But I only have about 3 or 4 nephews and nieces right now, and $10 per month really covers like what I give them. But I'm gonna increase this when my salary goes up. Promise. Promise po. Yes, moving on. We have got our life insurance back home in the Philippines, Sun Life. I save $95 every month for it. I have been with Sun Life for about 7 or 8 years now, and I've only got 3 years left to go before I complete my payments to them. So yeah, I just set aside $95 per month and then send a bulk payment once every 3 months. Okay, and then we have got some funner sinking funds. We have got my wedding with Frank. Frank and I are not yet sure about where we are going to be wed or how we are going to be wed. But regardless, I am setting aside $400 each month for that, just in case we want to go somewhere for a honeymoon or just, I don't know, if there's a reception. For now, we think that it's going to be a very low-key event. We're probably gonna elope. But yes, $400 each month for that. For the last sinking fund, and the one that I am most hyped about, is about our future travels. So Frank and I are going to Japan this November. If you're going, please let me know. I would love to meet you. We are going to Japan, and we are also going to the Philippines next year. For all of those, for those 2 countries, I am setting aside 700 New Zealand dollars per month. It may be a lot, but it's Japan, and Japan is pretty expensive. With all of these sinking funds, we come to a total of 1,355 NZ, or 840 US dollars, or in Philippine pesos, 46,070 per month. Okay, we are coming to the next part, which is the part that I am most nervous about. These are my actual savings per month. You saw that I have a lot of things that I save on by the way of sinking funds, but here are my actual savings. I've got my retirement fund. Every month, my employer automatically deducts part of my salary to go to my retirement fund. So when I receive my salary, I don't get this money anymore. So every month, I have 776 NZ set aside for my retirement, which is quite a lot. I'm pretty happy about that. Plus, my employer adds another 3% on top of that as their contribution. So I'm getting a good amount each month. For my emergency funds, I set aside $500 each month. Next year, Frank and I have some plans which might entail me using a lot of my emergency savings for it. So yes, I just have to have as much money on my emergency as possible. If I do get a raise in my salary, then I'll put way more into my emergency savings. Lastly, we have our future house account. I don't put a lot right now. I only put $250 a month, but that's better than nothing. And so those are all my savings for now. They come to a total of 1,526 New Zealand dollars, which is about 946 US dollars, or 51,884 Philippine pesos. After all of that is said and done, let's go to the totals of all of my spendings and savings. So if you add all of these up, I hope my math is right, it comes to a total of 5,235 New Zealand dollars and 50 cents. Or in US dollars, it is 3,253, or in Philippine pesos, it's 178,156 Philippine pesos per month. Would I do some things differently? Yes, I would. I would definitely put more money into my actual emergency savings and some investments and to my future house, and I would set aside more sinking funds for more gifts. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way my budget is going right now. This was pretty fun, and I hope I don't get any hate on it. And I hope you learned something from it. It is a fun exercise to see where all of your money is going. We need to be more open about money. As always, if you have any questions, just let me know. I aim to be as transparent as possible in this video. If you found this useful, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Hopefully, we could monetize this channel in the future. I will see you soon, mga kababayan. Thank you so much for listening to my talk, and I'll see you again in the next video. This is your Tita Abroad. Paalam.